Welcome to On the Spot, Portland Community College's new podcast brought to you by Internal Communications. This is where you get straight answers to the question PCC employees most want to know. Every episode, we dive into topics submitted by PCC employees, whether it's about college operations, our community, or the amazing people behind the scenes. We're on the spot for you. And the best part, each episode is short and to the point. On the Spot is a perfect, quick listen during your busy day. New episodes will be released every 2 weeks, so make sure to subscribe. I'm Danielle Gabriel, PCC's Marketing Director, and your host today. Today's guests are Kaela Parks, Karol Ford, and Jennifer Gossett. Thank you for joining us. We've got a lot to cover, so let's dive in. Right before we get started, why don't each of you go around and introduce yourselves and then explain a little bit about what your roles are within the college?
Sure. Well, my name's Kaela Parks, and I am the Dean of Inclusive and Accessible Education here at PCC. And it's a role that has, I would say, evolved over time. You know, I came to the college 13 years ago, and at that point, I was the Director of Disability Services. That is our student accommodation work. And over time, I've been so proud to see PCC really expand and develop stronger and stronger efforts around supporting our disabled community. So we now have a student accommodation manager who oversees the student accommodation work. That's part of our portfolio. We also have an accessible technology manager role in our team. And that's really where we have responsibility for helping our college community understand and align with the efforts to make sure our digital environment is really well structured and allows for people to navigate well, even if they use assistive technology or older technologies, mobile devices. We also do a lot of work around communication access. That's one of the other kind of pillars of the work that we do in my area. And that's really about helping to make sure we have ASL interpreters, spoken language interpreters, type well transcribers, media captioning, and it also means thinking about things like plain language to make sure folks can really get the essential meaning when we're communicating out. And then the fourth part of our work is really about capacity building. And part of that has been the addition of our digital inclusion, digital literacy team into this portfolio. And when I think about how that relates to accessible technology, they're very complementary. The accessible technology work makes sure the digital environment is navigable, and then digital navigators help equip people with the tools and techniques they need to really be able to make the most of the information resources and spaces, whether that's instructional or employee-focused, honestly. And part of capacity building is also about making space for disability identity and disability culture. So we are really excited to have student leaders be a part of our team, helping us make PCC better. And the student leaders participate in our accessibility council working committees. They also engage in programming. In fact, quick plug for the Let's Talk podcast collective, another podcast here at PCC that is actually created by our disabled student leaders.
Awesome. Thank you. Karol?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having us today. My name is Karol Ford. I am the Senior ADA and Accessibility Partner with the college. I work in PSEC, People, Strategy, Equity, and Culture. I am the only person who assists employees through the ADA interactive process. So my primary role is to support employees and managers and partner with them through what is an individualized ADA interactive process. And what this means is that if an employee has difficulty performing their job because of their disability, or if they need a reasonable accommodation so that they can fully perform their job, I would partner with them and their manager to discuss how they are impacted at work and explore options for accommodation, all so that they can perform all aspects of their job.
Thank you. And Jennifer?
Hi. So my position was created as part of a strategic planning process, and the strategic plan created my position. I'm the ADA 504 compliance manager, and The goal of the position was to bring me on board to work across the college to create what's called the Comprehensive Transition Plan, which is basically a strategic plan for improving accessibility over all areas of the college, whether it's the built environment, the digital environment, college culture, communication, and access. So I work across the college and very closely with Kaela and Karol and so many stakeholders. We develop the Comprehensive Transition Plan, develop priorities, and work collaboratively and proactively to improve and ensure that we have an equitable experience for our students, faculty, staff, and visitors with disabilities.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now that we're on the topic, what exactly is the definition of a disability?
Well, generally speaking, the ADA defines a person with a disability as someone who has a physical or a mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activity, or someone who has a record of such an impairment, or when someone is regarded as having such an impairment. This is a broad definition under the ADA. It's meant to be broad. Each person is different, and disabilities vary from person to person.
How does PCC ensure that students with disabilities have equitable access to education, campus facilities, and digital resources?
This is Jennifer. So PCC across the board, we certainly have policies and procedures, non-discrimination, things like that. But one of the things that I think we really excel in terms of providing equitable access is our proactive approach based in universal design and really the desire to ensure that our environments, our programs, goods, and services are usable by the widest audience possible from the get-go, from the design stage. And I think Kaela will probably have more to say on that.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things I'm so proud of when it comes to PCC's approach is that proactive ownership of our responsibility. We know that we have a responsibility. And so the comprehensive transition plan that Jennifer mentioned earlier is so exciting. I mean, people don't always hear the word comprehensive transition plan and get super jazzed, but I'm telling you, it is exciting because it's not like a lot of other transition plans that exist in the world. Often those are static documents. They get built once and put on a shelf. That's not our approach. The fact that we have a living comprehensive transition plan that actually touches all aspects of our programs and services, that's an indicator that we do understand our responsibility. And there's a little equation that we like to use. It's not really an equation, but it's a little phrase. Accessibility equals engagement plus accountability. And it's the idea that we really want to promote the full participation of people with disabilities. And the way to do that is to have both engagement, and that's where we really leverage our Accessibility Council that has working committees across with lots of stakeholder involvement, faculty, students, staff, all coming together to help identify where the barriers are. But then we also have that accountability piece. And that's what the Comprehensive Transition Plan provides. It's really a way for college leadership and for employees to understand where we are in closing the gaps, in addressing the issues that we have identified as barriers, and to ensure that we are making forward progress over time.
What PCC has done is really expanded that notion because our world is very much digital now. And so incorporating digital accessibility into our comprehensive transition plan we're one of the first higher education institutions in the country that I know of that's done that.
Thank you. Along those lines, what are some of the biggest challenges that students with disabilities may face in higher education, and how are we as a PCC community working to address them?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I think about the barriers that students experience, I think a lot about the conversations I've had with students over the years. And I think attitudinal barriers continue to be the biggest barrier. And I think that's true everywhere. There is some really great qualitative research that's come out in the field of disability studies, which is an interdisciplinary academic field. And one of the things that we know is that the way that people are treated matters. And there is still quite a bit of stigma in our society. And I think that the way that disability is viewed and framed and approached, it varies by family, by culture, by background, by context, by the kind of environment you're in.
How does PCC incorporate those universal design principles into our classrooms and our online learning environment and our infrastructure to continue to improve these accessibility standards for our students?
Yeah. This is Jennifer. I can start. I want to focus on our built environment just briefly. We have something at the college called our Facility Standards for Accessibility, where we promote design and construction processes that expand on the ADA's requirements. So the ADA has something called the ADA standards. So it tells you what slope to put sidewalks at and how to build ramps and where to put handrails. It's building code, basically. But what PCC wants to do is expand upon that because the ADA is really a floor. It's not a ceiling. And the minimum standards don't always make the most universally designed and equitable environment for all people. And so one of the things that we do as a college is work with architects and our contractors when a new project or something's getting repaired or a new building's getting built to ensure that we're incorporating principles of universal design in that process.
What initiatives and programs are available at PCC that are designed to support students with disabilities in their academic and career success?
Yeah, well, this is Kaela again, and I would say that certainly the student accommodation unit, the team, we have disability counselors and office assistants available at all of our campuses to make sure students have friendly people to connect with if there are barriers they are experiencing individually, so we can get formal academic accommodation put in place. That's certainly an example of a program designed specifically to ensure we have access for students with disabilities. But I would also think about things like the disability cultural programming that happens through the work of our student leaders. We have an accessibility hub at the Southeast campus where we have a variety of connection points available for students to connect with one another, as well as virtual programming like the Let's Talk Podcast Collective or our town halls that we host.
That's amazing, actually. That's a wonderful resource for a lot of students who, like you said, may not otherwise be able to access those tools in their academic career.
That's right. And every year we have Big Give Day here at the college. We have a program fund set up to help equip students with the funds they need to get those learning disability evaluations. And we greatly appreciate all the contributions that come our way.
So along those lines, how can we as a PCC community, faculty, staff, and even other students contribute to making PCC just a generally more inclusive environment and accessible environment for everybody?
I'll start. One of the things that every employee can do is get training. If you go to pcc.edu/accessibility, you can also access our accessibility page on the footer of any pcc.edu webpage. Just scroll down and click on accessibility. There's a Get Training and Resources page. Through our Accessible Ed and Disability Resources department, they developed a wonderful training called Understanding Accessible Education, and that's a great place to get started. You can also, for your department, reach out to us and request customized training. There's a plethora of asynchronous trainings already available, and I think we all do a pretty good job of getting out to the college community training. Karol offers her training. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, sure. I offer information sessions, I like to call them, on the ADA interactive process for employees. So I offer sessions for employees and for managers, help them understand what is available to them if they do need an individualized accommodation.
Can an employee just reach out to you directly if they
Oh,
want
yes.
to?
I encourage employees to reach out to me. I have 2 emails. My regular email, Karol.Ford at pcc.edu, or ADA coordinator at pcc.edu. And employee can, and even if they just want to have the initial conversation and they aren't sure, if they just want to dip their toe in the water, say, hey, here's what I'm experiencing and here's, the barriers I'm facing and, what might be available for me. I can talk with them. They aren't required to go any further than that. They can get the information and decide what they would like to do.
And is that process confidential just between you and the employee?
Yes. Initially it is, and until they are ready to proceed. At some point we do need to engage with their manager if they want to, if we need to make an adjustment to their work environment. But I can give them suggestions, point them to various resources that they might find helpful without going that next step if that's where their comfort level is. But yes, confidential.
And so the employee has agency throughout the whole process?
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about a different and interesting topic. What role do service animals play as an employee accommodation under the ADA?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I'm going to take a step back and briefly mention what a service animal is, and I'm going to have my partner Jennifer here join me anytime she likes. But a service animal is a dog. It's a dog trained to do a specific task for the benefit of the person with a disability. We've seen blind people with guide dogs, so that's pretty usual. There might be other types of disabilities where someone might need a service animal. If they have hearing loss, the dog can alert them to sound. If they have diabetes, the dog can alert them or help them if they're needing some kind of help along those lines. And I work with Title I of the ADA, which is an employment, so it's a little bit different than students. So service animals and employees, we still go through, if it's not a visible disability, we still go through the ADA interactive process, and we discuss, what the employee is experiencing and how the dog assists them at work. And hopefully it's a short process, but we do want to go through the approval process. It's important that dogs, service animals, are trained so that they aren't disruptive, and the person who is using the service dog needs to ensure that they are in control of the animal. Is there anything you would like to add to that, Jennifer?
Yeah, I think, it's a topic that's certainly been out in the media. In the 2008 ADA Amendments Act, they changed the guidance and regulations around service animals. And so they defined a service animal as a dog, as Karol mentioned, to perform a task. And we didn't talk about public accommodations. So service animals, service dogs, are allowed in public areas. And there's two questions folks can ask, but we really say, let the behavior of the animal and the handler guide whether or not you need to engage in. We don't want people policing other people with service dogs. And most of the time, I would say 98% of the time, there aren't a lot of disruptions or conflicts or things like that. And we have guidance on our accessibility website about service animals, and we encourage you to check that out and reach out to us if you have questions about service animals. But yeah, in 2008, the ADA expanded and clarified some questions around service dogs. Service dogs are allowed in areas that are open to the public. And so the law treats it a little bit differently for employees because our employees are in areas that are not public facing. And so, but we do have guidance. And if folks want to ask questions about service animals, we have serviceanimals@pcc.edu. That's an email address you can reach out to.
For those of you listening, thanks for tuning in to our second season of On the Spot at PCC. Future bi-weekly episodes bring guests from across the college to talk about the work they're supporting and to answer your questions. I'm Danielle Gabriel, and it's been a pleasure. We'll talk again next time.